Howdy, guys. Just went through looking at my last video, which was over a year ago now, on my rack, and saw that there were 46,000 views. So I guess people were pretty interested, but I figured it has changed quite a bit, as you'll see here, since the last video. So I kind of go over, what's new and what's different. So I have completely redone the power to the rack in order to take advantage of something that I found out about this automatic switch here, that it actually does a really good job of doing the filtering and surge and protection and automatic cutover. And it's kind of best if you leave it to be your primary. So as power used to come in here first and then go up to here, as far as mains anyway, this is now tied directly into the mains, and then the backup power is the UPS. And this is basically just acting like a big PDU now for some things internally inside the rack, for networking equipment and things like that. So unfortunately, I don't have one button to turn everything off anymore, but I never used it anyway, so it is what it is. So this right now is basically tied into servers. There's a PDU along the back wall that all the servers and so much of the network equipment also connects to. I'll show you guys that in a minute. And then, a couple other random things plugged in directly to there. Next down is the Avocent DSR 1020. Still using it, still rocking the Avocent. Love it. Works great. Getting ready to deploy one at work too, so it's great. pfSense router next. So one of the things I did, one of the feedback things I got from my last video was to discuss more about the specifics of all the stuff in my network. So I kind of wrote stuff down on my board. If you're interested in picking up some of this board, I got it off Amazon. It's just like the white erase board that sticks to the wall. And I just stuck it and then like cut out like the seams in the panels. And, and then I got, I had to do this because this is the one I take off all the time. The other one I never take off, so it's just covered. And I just reach inside and push the button down to open it up. But anyway, so the pfSense has a Xeon X3470 at 2.93 gigahertz. The TDP on that processor is like 85 watts, which is way overkill for anything that's just doing routing and packet inspection and stuff like that. So I use PowerD in pfSense to kind of turn down the processor, and it maximum that it'll put out right now is 1.2 gigahertz per core. So it's sipping electricity. I went through and kind of connected everything when I was going through my power to like a kilowatt, and just to kind of see what the readings were. And without PowerD, it was like 65 watts idle. With PowerD, less than 35. It would bounce between like 32, 34, around there. So not using a lot of electricity there. I had a stick of RAM go bad in it. So it might be time to say bye-bye to the old Supermicro pfSense router. Have a feeling I may just need to move on to something a little less powerful, not really using. I mean, the most I've ever seen the utilization on it, like even under load and everything, is like not even 25-30%. So it's kind of overkill. Next down, you'll see VBox. It's working away right now. It's actually being migrated to a VM host that I have started. I'll explain that in a minute. So yeah, it's going to do that job. DevBox is next. This is the machine that I use just to be able to like recover stuff on old hard drives and things like that. So it really doesn't make sense to virtualize it, but I am kind of on a virtualization kick right now. I've migrated actually a few things in my server rack to Azure. I no longer have a DC on premises. Everything is Azure AD. Costs a couple bucks, but I save that in electricity, really. My business is a Microsoft partner, so we get a pretty deep discount anyway. And I'm not doing anything So I don't need super powerful servers or anything like that. Anyways, so yeah, that's kind of the same deal there, right? I mean, I can go and put in the drives when I need to, and put in 2 drives to recover, to, read from one, write to the other to do recovery. Plex server, this has not changed since last time. The only thing that has changed a little bit on it is I have saved a ton of space using TDAR. So many thanks to Space Invader 1, the guy from Great Britain who does all the videos about UnRAID, and I stumbled across his video, and I went crazy and compacted and converted everything over to 265. So it saved me, I don't even know how many gigs of space, lots. So, there's a whole bunch of room on this thing now. However, the movies 1 and movies 2, those are the 2 oldest drives in there. I'm working out a plan to virtualize pfSense. I just need to be able to do some GPU, assignment within Hyper-V. So that's kind of next on the docket. Next down is one of my new Hyper-V host, one of the 2, called Orosi. If you recall from my last video, all of my servers are names of volcanoes in Costa Rica. So that's where the names come from, if you ever wonder. So yeah, this is brand new. It's just getting a couple of VMs loaded on it now, for little things like, the intercom system for our gate on our property. Little stuff like that. 1, 2 core VMs. It currently has, let's see, Orosi has 2 Xeon E5 2630L V2s. So that's 24 total cores across both processors. It's a JBOD Supermicro machine, 128 gigs of RAM. So it's okay. It does the job. Nothing super powerful. I don't need a ton of cores anyway. So, it is what it is. The next is just my KVM monitor. Jaw there. So, these are like, if you have a rack at home, these things are so nice. The keyboard's a junk. It doesn't even have a Windows key. This thing is super old, but it works. It gets the job done. The monitor is not super high resolution, but it's not like I'm gaming while standing at my rack anyway, right? So that works pretty good. Next down is Arenal. This used to be my VM host. I have stripped most of the memory out of it, and the drives are still in it, but they're a little on the older side. I'm going back to my notes every time, right? Because I can't even remember. Arenal has 2 X5650 processors in it. So 24 cores. There's only 48 gigs of RAM in it right now, just one stick per processor, or I think 2 sticks actually, per processor, just to kind of keep it running. I have a rule in my rack now: if I don't turn you on for a year, you're getting booted. And it's been almost a year for poor Arenal, so I don't know. We'll figure something out. Next one down is Chato. That is Arenal is also a R610 server. Chato is a DL360 Gen 9. This thing is absolutely jam-packed and will cost me $200 a month in electricity all by itself if left to its devices. Chato is let's see. So yeah, DL360 Gen 9. It's got Xeon E5 2650 V4s at 2.2 gigahertz. So it's got 48 total cores and 256 gigs of RAM. But each of those processors is 115 watt TDP. So yeah, power hungry, a little bit overkill for what I need. I may take out one of the processors, or replace them. I don't know. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it. I don't really know what to do with this before. In where I got this, they were using it as a VM host. However, so there's the backplane here has a total space for 8 drives, but 2 of the slots are bad, and I replaced the backplane, and the same 2 slots died, and like they're dead. So I don't know what the deal is with it. It's not great. So right now it's running two HP Enterprise SSDs. So those are bucks to replace, and I'm not going to replace those. I mean, they're fast and everything, but it runs, it does its thing. Maybe what I'll do is put an HBA card in the back of it and just tie it down to the disk shelf down there or something. I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. We'll figure that out. Next down is Irasu. Irasu is a Dell R720 XD. Has 2 Xeon E5 2620 V0, so like no version, so they're really old. 95 TDP, 95 watt TDP, only 24 cores, only 128 gigs of RAM. This really is cold storage for all my personal files and stuff like that. So I don't really use it a lot. I turn it on to do backups of UnRAID on a handful of the shares that are there, and then that's really it. So again, I'm still using it, so it hasn't been ejected from the rack yet, but it uses up a lot of electricity, and it's just very slow. It's just old. Next one is my new this one's called Turrialba. Turrialba is going to be my new VM host, my main VM host. I am working on getting the SAS expander so I can have another bay. This has, what does it have in it? Like the 1.2 terabyte drives in it right now. So I'm probably going to get like the 2.4s, or I don't know. I got to see how I can get them on the cheap. Small form factor drives are unfortunately not as cheap as like the your Western Digital regular drives and stuff. So a little bit harder to come by, but for I'm gonna need some extra space and extra performance for the array anyway, because just I don't want bottlenecks of IOPS and stuff like that. So that is a DL380 Gen 9. Turrialba has 2 Xeon E5 2620s, so it only has 24 cores, has 128 gigs of RAM, but those processors are only 85 watt TDP. So you figure 85 watts is usually like the maximum, right? So you figure it's going to idle around 60 on its own. And when I hooked it up to the kilowatt, it's doing about 110, 105 watts at idle. So it's not bad. So if I, when I virtualize my Plex server, it's going to have to go on here, but I have to order the other mezzanine, not mezzanine, the other, PCI expansion card for the internal and all that stuff, and get that going. Down below it is Barva. Barva is a DL380P Gen 8. 40 core. Barva has E5 2670 V2s at 2.5 gigahertz, but 40 cores, 192 gigs of RAM. This was a VM host that we used at my office, and it got decommissioned, and I snatched it up. But it, it's pretty high. I forgot to put down what the TDP is on that thing, but it's pretty high. It's up there. So not super power efficient, but it is what it is. I'm probably gonna have this be like a replicated VM host for this, but I can set up a timer and have it turn on only, I don't know. I'll figure something out. Next is the disk shelf. This has let me see where this has a whole bunch of. That's empty. How did I put those? Oh, that's right. I put them in the bottom. This has a whole bunch of my old 4 terabyte drives. Got all my old drives in it. So I just hang on to them there. You'll notice from the last video, I had 3 UPSs. I don't anymore. Just have one. Actually, it's a new one. New one that a client bought and didn't want to use it. So they were gonna just recycle it. So I grabbed it. It has the network card in it. It can also take the battery expansion pack, which is great. So I, once maybe someday come by a battery expansion pack and use that. Came to find out that daisy chaining the UPSs together was what was causing my batteries to die, and they weren't working right when there was a power outage. I had a very long power outage here, and it didn't last nearly as long as I thought it would, and all kinds of problems, but that's life. Managed to get my Silverstone UnRAID box back up and running correctly. It's on right now. Dead quiet. It's being there should be stuff being copied to it. The VM is being extracted to it. Maybe it finished. But it's running right now. It does great. It's got a bunch of 4 and 8 terabyte drives in there. Yeah, does great. Works perfect. That box back there, the old Dell XPS, was just one that I grabbed from a client in order to be my TDAR box. Because I don't really have enough resource to run it on the on UnRAID on its own, because I've only got 8 cores there, and I've got 16 gigs of RAM in it, which does fine. It has 2 SSDs, and but I can only get about 250 megabytes, right? Megabits. I don't know. 2.5 gigs of throughput on the UnRAID if I'm writing to the SSD cache. So that's it. But again, I don't need anything super high performance or anything like that. So, but I just I had that XPS box, has Windows on it already. So I just went and did the TDAR thing, and it became the box. I set up the schedule. It worked great. It only worked when I'm generating extra solar here and all that kind of stuff. It worked great. It's really good. It's just in there still. I haven't had a chance to pull it out. It was literally just virtualized yesterday. So, yep. Anyways, as you can see from my UPS there, the last thing was a self-test. Let me see. It'll eventually get around to showing you how much time it can last. 2 hours. I highly doubt that. But, it is what it is. So, anyways, that's my full setup there. You'll notice I do have 2 Starlinks there, and then also T-Mobile. And the way it works, the way I have it set up through pfSense is Starlink 1 and 2 kind of make their own gateway, and then T-Mobile is its own gateway, and then I have pfSense set to route traffic out the specific gateways of my choosing, whether it be an application or a full IP address or something like that. So works really great. All right, so real quick, we're getting along, 20 minutes already. Network rack, a little bit of cleanup done here. Have some stuff hanging out. Like I said, I just got the Supermicro server here, and Supermicro, you need to do better. Okay, I have to tear the server apart in order to put on the cable management arm. Come on. And then the cable management arm cost me $100. Stupid. Anyways, that's one of the reasons why I love HP. HP and Dell, just very, very mature. I like the premise of Supermicro in that you can kind of really customize your server build and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, little things like that. Like I can't put the cable management arm because I can't get to these 2 screws without unmounting everything. So I had to pull the whole server out just to put on the cable management arm, because they didn't think to put a clip back here. Look at everybody else. See? Oh, a little clip. The cable management just clicks in. So you probably can't even see that. Just clicks in. And you can remove it while the server's on. You can do it on all of them. And they work great. And they stay nice and organized. Look at all this. So you can see everything's unplugged right now. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to talk. Nah, stuff doesn't really get that loud. It's just, if I'm not using it, I don't keep it on. Anyways, top down. Let's see here. Okay. Unifi 48 port PoE switch on top. The what is it? An 8 port aggregation switch, 10 gig aggregation switch, and then my cloud key, my Qualsar GPS clock, which attaches to my pfSense and provides super accurate GPS time. Yeah, kind of a time nerd. That's just the back of the servers. As there, here's the PDU I was mentioning before. It goes along the side. So as you can see, there's not a lot plugged into it. Just things that wouldn't reach all the way up, or don't need to bother reaching all the way up to the PDU. And that's pretty much it, guys. I got several comments from the last video, and I answered all of them. So, well, I think I did anyway. So if you have any questions or need any information, or kind of wondering how I did something or something like that, I'm an oversharer, so let me know. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.